All right, let's do this one last time, taking a look at the top 25 as I have laid it out, what I think the top 25 ought to look like ahead of the Associated Press polls rankings. And I got to start with October 12th did not disappoint. This is one of the most popular days for weddings in this country, and I just don't understand how you expect someone to attend your wedding when we have top 25 matchup after top 25 matchup after top 25 matchup all day today in conference games that absolutely matter in the first year of the college football playoff being 12 teams, and yet and still, y'all had the audacity to try to get us to come to your weddings on this date. And if you said no, sir, I salute you, sir, because we had 4 games featuring top 25 teams that needed overtime to find out who the victor was, and that is not including some games that came down to the wire, like Oregon, Ohio State, or Colorado, Kansas State. Down the line we go with teams that found a way or couldn't find a way. What we have also learned is that nobody is unbeatable. Yes, we have undefeated teams. I believe we got 9 now as we get to the halfway mark of the season, but no one feels like they are going to run through November undefeated, let alone the second half of October, because we've seen almost anything. Like the second axiom of college football is activated, and it holds true. Anything that can happen will happen. Just add water. Or 2024 Vanderbilt. So, with that, let's start with the top 25 as I see it. Number 1, Oregon. The Ducks outlasted Ohio State at Autzen. They get the win against a top 5 opponent. Their first as a Big Ten member. They've won 35 of their last 36 at that stadium. It was raucous. It was loud. They scored 32 points on a team that had given up 6.8 per game. And Will Howard still thinks that he got down, but he certainly did not. Number 2, we got Texas for me. They defeated Oklahoma 34-3. Oklahoma doesn't have an offense. Texas is balanced, as all things should be, looking like a national title contender. They get Georgia for Week 8 in what ought to be the marquee affair on the schedule. Number 3, I got Ohio State 32-31. You purported yourself very well against a very good Oregon team. I still think that Ohio State is one of the 2 best teams in the Big Ten, which is why I have them ahead of number 4, Penn State, who defeated USC but needed overtime to do it and was down 20-6 and needed a Hall of Fame game from Tyler Warren, your tight end, 17 catches, 224 yards, or you just don't win that football game. Drew Aller ain't good. He ain't good. He ain't good. And that USC team is not good at all, and still it felt like they were going to win that game right up until they didn't. Number 5, I got Georgia. They beat Mississippi State 41-31. It's not that Carson Beck threw for 459. It's that Michael Van Buren threw for 306 against a Georgia defense. That does not bode well for how we should feel about Georgia. We don't feel confident about Georgia playing in Austin next week. By the way, United States Grand Prix also next week. I don't know why y'all do that to yourselves, Austin. Actually, I absolutely know. Tourism about to be off the charts over there in Austin. Number 6, Miami was idle. Number 7, Clemson beat Wake Forest 49-14. They have scored 40 points or more in all but 2 games. The one they lost to Georgia 34-3, and then they beat Florida State with a score of 29, right? They're just putting it on people. They look like the best team in the ACC with the 1 loss. Iowa State defeats West Virginia 28-16. Did I mention that it's 1:06 my time, like in the morning? So, yeah, we working through it, right? West Virginia honored Anthony Beck, who is also the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks in the UFL, whose son, Rocco Beck, is also starting quarterback at Iowa State. And Rocco did what sons should do when their fathers are being honored. He went and beat that alma mater's behind 28-16. He threw for 265 yards with a TD. Iowa State 6-0 for the first time since 1938. Great start. BYU also gets to 6-0 with a win against Arizona, 41-31. We got a pretty decent game from Jake Retzloff, who threw for 218 yards, 2 TDs. Didn't ever look like Arizona could get anything going. And what they wanted to do was force the ball down the field. BYU just would not let them do it. I got number 10, LSU, who defeats Ole Miss 29-26 in overtime. Garrett Nussmeier did not look great for most of the game, still threw for 337 and had a game-winning touchdown to Kyron Lacey for 25 yards to seal the victory. Really outstanding win for them. They needed it. It looked great. Number 11, Tennessee. I got them there because they flipped with LSU because you were in a dogfight with Florida. You needed overtime to beat them 23-17. We've not seen Nico Iamaleava throw for more than 200 yards since they beat NC State. So you need to figure out your pass game quick, fast, in a hurry before you get to Alabama. Number 12, I got Alabama. Defeated South Carolina 27-25, a game that came down to the wire, a game that it felt like South Carolina was going to win right up until Lenore Sellers spit up all over himself. And frankly, Jalen Milroe came up with a winning play to go get them the W. Does it look like a college football playoff team? Does it look like a national championship team? Absolutely not. Number 13, I got Notre Dame. Their 49-7 win against Stanford put them back on the good foot. Their best win to date, right? They scored 35 points in the second and third quarters alone. Riley Leonard was 16 of 22 for 229 with 4 total TDs. A&M was idle this week. Missouri beats UMass 45-3. Okay, cool. There's your freebie. Number 16, I got Boise State there. Just making sure that I'm right about this because I think that game was very much in hand before we started doing the top 25 as I am looking now. Yes, 21-7 with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I feel good about that. Kansas State at 17. They defeat Colorado. Colorado made a dramatic comeback. Wasn't enough. They're missing Travis Hunter. They're missing Omarion Miller. They're missing Jimmy Horn. They just did not have their full assortment of players. And Kansas State did everything they could to try to throw this game away. Even as Dylan Edwards enjoyed a game of games, that dude was outstanding. DJ Giddens enjoyed a game of games. 25 rushes, 179 yards in this one. Back-to-back games of 175 yards rushing or more for DJ Giddens, looking like a first-team All-American. Then we got Illinois, who survived Purdue 50-49 in overtime. Luke Altmaier threw for 379 yards, 3 TDs. Also, that's just not what you expect from Illinois-Purdue, but it produced. Indiana's idle. They're 6-0. Pitt moves to 6-0 for the first time since 1982 with a win against California, 17-15. And they did it without much in the way of offensive yardage. They had 277 total yards. This is a team that's averaging damn near 500 a game, right? That's pretty outstanding to get that win in Pittsburgh. Ole Miss, they took the L to LSU. They dropped to 21. Arizona State, they defeated Utah on Friday night, 27-19. They moved to 5-1, meaning they hit the over. And look, man, when you got to get a hard yard and you need to get somebody that's going to get you through, you better call Cam Scattaboo. With the win, I thought the Sun Devils storming the field was a little much, and then I remembered that they hit the over, and their over, the win total for them is 4.5, to which Kenny Dillingham has a Hall of Fame quote: "For those of you who won, talk about hitting the over, put the money back in the NIL collective." SMU's idle. They're at 23. Army's at 24. They beat UAB 44-10. They are 6-0 for the first time since 1996, riding a 10-game active win streak, looking to get to 9-0 for the first time since 1996. If they keep this up, they get to 10-0. Who knows? Could be 1945 all over again. Navy's at number 25. They're idle this week. They're 5-0. That's how I see the top 25 playing out. And I was able to get that done in less than 10 minutes. You're welcome.